30 seconds and counting.
Hey, what's good, guys? It's Clutch City Entertainment here, back with another video. And for today's video, we're going to be talking about the Houston Texans. And I'm going to be talking about the current draft position for the Houston Texans and where they stand, and possibly a couple players that they should and probably would target at number 2. And as we all know, we lost to the New York Jets this past weekend. Wasn't a very good game really at all for us. If we lost to the Jets, then that really says you're a bad football team. But I'm not really going to talk about the team as a whole, just a draft and how we're looking for the draft. So as we all know, we're number 2 right now. And at number 2, we can do a bunch of different things. Some people say it's hard to draft for number 2. Some people say it's easy. But for me, in my opinion, I say there's a little bit of both. So you can be left with the leftovers of whoever doesn't go number 1, obviously. And number 1, pretty much throughout the season, it's been speculated that Kayvon Thibodeau will go number 1. But now it's kind of changed. Now people think Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan has a very strong case to go number 1 overall, instead of Kayvon Thibodeau. And I mean, for good reason. Aiden Hutchinson has just put on an absolute clinic for the Michigan over the past few weeks. And on this previous game against, Ohio State, he put up 3 sacks, a couple tackle for losses, and I think he had 5 or 6 total tackles, something like that. So, I mean, yeah, Aiden Hutchinson, he's making a strong case for number 1. And honestly, it's going to be either one of those 2 players that go number 1. I don't really see any other player other than Kayvon or Aiden that go number 1. So the Houston Texans are going to be left with whoever doesn't go 1. And it's going to be one of, as I said, Kayvon or Aiden. As a Texans fan, personally, I wouldn't be mad at either one of them. Both are going to be, in my opinion, top defensive ends coming out of college. They're going to come into the league making noise. And in the future, they're going to be, both of them are going to be very good defensive ends. At some point in their career, I believe they're each going to be top 10 in the NFL at some point. Not NFL history, obviously, but current time NFL, they're going to be top 10 at their position. Both players, obviously, they have the star power and the potential to probably achieve that, to become a top 10 player in the NFL at some point. And as I've said, either one you can't go wrong with. But at number 2, there's a bunch of different scenarios you could do also. There's been a CBS mock draft that had us taking Matt Corral. Personally, I would not touch Matt Corral anywhere in the top 5, maybe even top 10. But yeah, I don't agree with that one. I've seen that one out there. I've seen some people say we should take Derek Stingley at number 2. I also don't agree with that. There's no reason to take a cornerback number 2, especially when you're probably going to have another first-round pick from Deshaun Watson this year. If you want Derek, you could probably trade up with your other first, get Derek also as well with Kayvon or Aiden. But yeah, for me, it's either take Kayvon or Aiden at number 2, whoever falls, or if there's a good enough offer from a team like maybe Washington football team that wants to trade up maybe to take Matt Corral, or maybe say the Jags want to trade up to jump over the Jets to take maybe one of the offensive tackles, whether it be Evan Neal or the guy from Ole Miss, whoever it may be. Maybe a team wants to jump one of them for offensive tackle. I don't know what the scenario could be for them, but whoever team wants to trade up, I would not be against trading back from the Houston Texans standpoint, especially if you could get 2 very good first-round picks, especially if it's a team like the Jets or the Jaguars where you know they're not going to be too good next year, and they're probably going to be in the top 10 again. So, I mean, yeah, if it's a team like that, 100% trade down. You could get 2 potential future top 10 picks. I mean, one of them guaranteed top 10 from this year, and then next year, another top 10 pick. And then maybe along with another second, or maybe even a player. I'm not sure who the player could or would be, but just different scenarios. So we could trade back from number 2, get some extra picks, or build up the defensive line and get Aiden or Kayvon. Imagine a defensive line. Kayvon Thibodeau, Jonathan Grenard, Roy Lopez, Blacklock, Malik Collins, Jordan Jenkins. That's a very nasty defensive line. That's a bunch of manpower right there. Roy Lopez, as we know, one of the best defensive tackles this past year in the draft, and we got him in, I think the 6th round? We drafted one of the best defensive tackles from this past year in the 6th round, and he's been phenomenal, obviously, for us. And so imagine him at D tackle as that run stuffer. Malik Collins at the 3 tech. Kayvon and Jonathan Grenard outside. That's an insane defensive line. There's pass rushing abilities from each one of those players. Roy Lopez, maybe not as good as the rest, but I mean, I guess good enough to get the job done. And if we were to draft Aiden Hutchinson, he can do the same thing as Kayvon Thibodeau. In my opinion, Aiden Hutchinson is the more complete player. In terms of being able to stop the run as well. I'm not saying that Kayvon's not a good run stuffer, but from what I've seen, what I've heard, and just different, the sizes of the players, of the two players, I believe Aiden Hutchinson would be the better run stuffer. At least on paper. Obviously we haven't seen either of them in the NFL. We don't know how either of them could translate. But just what I can see now, Aiden is the most complete player for right now. But Kayvon has the most potential for the future. Kayvon has the potential to be a top 3 defensive end in this league, going with Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa, and then Kayvon Thibodeau. Aiden Hutchinson, I don't think he could be top 3, but he could definitely be a top 10, but being a better, more all-around defensive end. Being able to hold the edge, being able to pass rush, and being able to run stuff, do all of that. While Kayvon Thibodeau, I'm not saying he would only be limited to pass rushing. He would still be able to run stuff, obviously. Maybe not as good as Aiden, but still be able to hold his own and also hold the edge very well. But I just believe Aiden Hutchinson would be the better overall player if you're trying to win now. I don't think we're trying to win now. Obviously, we're a rebuilding team. There's no way we're going to win now. We don't even have a quarterback. But yeah. So those two players, you really can't go wrong with either one of them. Do you want the potential for later, which I would not be against, in taking Kayvon Thibodeau? Or do you want the right now / better all-around player potentially in the future, which is Aiden Hutchinson? And I would not be against either one of them. As I've said, I would say either one of them. Both would really, really retool this defensive line. It will make it a top, maybe not top 10 instantly, but over the next couple of years, it would eventually make us a top 10 defensive line. And I would die for a top 10 defensive line. But yeah, that's pretty much the video. Let me know what y'all guys think. What would y'all do at number 2? Would y'all trade back? Would y'all rather have the preference of Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, or maybe y'all would want to take Evan Neal or a different guy, a different not so popular guy? But personally, I've already said I wouldn't mind either one of Aiden or Thibodeau. As long as it's one of them or trading back, I do not care. I don't want to take a quarterback number 2. I don't want to take offensive tackle number 2. I don't want to take any other position other than defensive end, which is Aiden or Kayvon, or just trade back and get more picks. For me, I've told y'all my stance. Let me know y'all's stance. What would y'all do? And all of that. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram and even TikTok at Clutch City ENTX. And I hope you guys have a good day. Peace.